Wilder Show podcast. Hello there. I'm
Hello.
Scott.
Oh, sorry.
Everybody take two. What?
I'm really anxious today.
Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's Lauren. There you go. Now you can jump in.
Hello. Happy Independence Day.
Hey, we're going to get to that in a second. Yeah, happy Independence Day, everybody.
Keep jumping all over you.
I'm telling you. Instagram, find us on Instagram. You will search Instapod. No, it's Wilder Show Pod. And you'll find us on Instagram. Yeah, you got me all messed up. Email podcast@wildershow.com. Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube. Word on that in a minute. Or wherever you get your podcast. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. There have been some problems on YouTube. Mm-hmm. You know, in the past, I think we mentioned this, that for whatever reason, it would mark it as private.
The podcast.
Yeah, and of course, there's nothing I do that's private. And so it's private, but it's not private, it's public. And so every time I've had to check and make sure, is it designated as public? Mm-hmm. And it was. As soon as it dropped, it was. And then later that day, I checked it. Yep, still public. Good. Getting views. Everybody's, okay, cool. Then I checked it again, and still public. It's burdensome to have to check it over and over again, mm-hmm. you know, especially for the OCD part of all of us. It says, did I turn off the oven? Well, then I get an email from a guy that listens, and he says, hey, man, it's marked private again. Sends me a screenshot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I sent it back. I said, man, I've fixed. Go get it. Now, remember, you can get it the other places, too.
Sure.
But I know a lot of people get stuff like that on YouTube, even though it's not video. Mm-hmm. You know, but this is the audio. But,
you don't want to see video.
Well, I mean, half of it you wouldn't mind seeing, but the other half, not at all. But in any case, sorry about that. Working on that. Don't really know what the deal is, but it is, I promise you, it is flipping at some point on its own from designated public to designated private. So I'll keep watching it, but you might, as a backup, you might go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Apple Podcast. Most people listen to this on Apple Podcasts, just barely. Over.
Is it right over
Spotify? Yeah.
Okay.
And then YouTube is a whole separate thing. It doesn't go in the same aggregator. So I don't want to bore you with all that. But
how do you listen to music? What's your?
That's a good question. How do I listen to music? I think my way of listening, when I listen to music, I think I listen to music on Spotify. Mm-hmm. Because I guess I have an Apple account. I don't know. It seems like every time you buy a new thing, they give you 3 months or something.
You might have an Apple account, but you don't necessarily. See, I listen.
Get the music.
Yeah, I listen to Apple Music. Mm-hmm. I have Spotify too, and I listen to music there. Sometimes it's just not commercial free because I don't pay for it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
And the same thing with
and
podcasts things like that. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, well, let's dive. So Independence Day. Can I tell you that, and this is sort of weird, but as the president says, I weave. Mm-hmm. I weave. I'll weave it around. But for those who have listened to us over the years, this will make sense to you. I think of my Algebra 2 teacher in high school every Independence Day.
Wait, why on Independence Day?
Every Independence Day, I think him as chancellor. Mm-hmm. More on that in a second. But let's do a little celebrating of Independence Day. You remember, people may say on this day, we the people, we the mm-hmm. people, we the people. That this is not the We the People Day.
Right.
That's the Constitution.
Yes.
This is the Declaration of Independence.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And you remember what that whole thing was. I mean, I'm not to, I know everybody knows, but we were declaring our independence from England.
I've seen Hamilton.
Yeah. Well, then forget about it. I can't wrap it. But so we were declaring our independence. So when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. It's an old-fashioned way of saying, we think we should tell you why we're doing this. And so it begins. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then it goes on.
Right.
I think him as chancellor because of how this begins. We hold these truths to be immediately obvious to the most casual observer.
Now I get it.
That is it.
That's it.
That was her phrase. Mr. Wilder, that I would miss one of the things at the chalkboard and slink back to the back of the class. Mr. Wilder, that should have been immediately obvious to the most casual observer. We hold these truths, these things we're about to tell you, we hold these things to be really obvious.
They're not things we just decided.
Right.
They are things that
are. We are acknowledging what is. And because this is, we are, they said, impelled to the separation.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think of Ms. Chancellor every Independence Day. We hold these truths to be self-evident. These are self-evident. All men are created equal. Endowed what? By a king? No. By men? No. By a government? No. Endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. There can be no pursuit of happiness without liberty. There can be no liberty without life. Isn't it interesting? The very first right that the Founding Fathers declared was our right by whom? From whom? By God, was the right to life. And I don't mean the right to life the way it's used for the running to the corner of your political position or your moral position on that issue, but the right to life. That was the very first promise, the very first right, the unalienable right by our Creator, endowed by our Creator, was the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And of course, they said among these are. It wasn't like this is the whole list.
Right.
That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So maybe, just contemplate that phrase a little bit. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So, happy July 4th.
You know that it sounds kind of trite to say that's so powerful. Of course it is. And maybe it's because we don't hear it every day. We don't think of it every day. We don't read it every day. Maybe if we did, we might start to sort of gloss over it. But I mean, I had Terry listening to you read that.
It was world changing.
Yeah.
It really was. I mean, before that, it was like, well, I don't know what kind of rights I have. The king is going to decide, and part of it obviously was also religion, that there was an acknowledgement in I don't go too deep on this, but there was an acknowledgement of God immediately, as you just heard, in the Declaration of Independence. However, one of the things they were running away from was a state-imposed religion.
Right.
And so God is almost not mentioned at all in the Constitution. Think of it as like two sides of the same coin, right? They both have value, but they look different. One is, why are we separating from these people over here? And the answer is, well, there are a bunch of reasons, but one of the things is they tell us that we get our rights from a king. And we don't believe that. We believe we get our rights from God. We believe in a Creator, and the Creator is the one who gives us these. We are endowed by Him with those rights. And they said, okay, well, shoot, now what are we going to do? Coming up with a Constitution. And they said, well, first of all, we're not going to have a state religion. Congress, the Constitution is all about limiting the government. Congress shall not,
right?
Cannot do these things, will not impose, but they will also not impose a religion, nor will they shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. Okay, that's saying we're not going to have a theocracy.
Right.
The Church of the Anglican Church, that was the Church of England, and the head of the Church of England was the king. And to change the king, then you got a new head of the Got a new head of the Anglican Church. So Congress shall know, this is the Constitution, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion. A lot of people forget the second part. Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That is an old-timey way of saying, we're not going to make you to do anything, and you don't have to do anything. But whatever you do, we're not going to be in charge of it. Believe whatever you want to believe or believe nothing at all. We're okay with that. So anyway, happy Independence Day. I love Independence Day. I love American history. I love history generally, but I love American history. And I love, a year from now, we will be one day away from a 250th birthday. I mean, Lord willing, things go well. We expect a year from now, we'll be celebrating 250 years. Is that right?
It is right. And the other thing, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what, but it's astounding to me still how young we are as a country.
The country, right.
How recently, all of those things, the writing of that document, how recently that was in terms of world history.
It's great. It's great. It still is the grandest experiment of them all. It is not a democracy. It is a representative republic. You can look it up and figure out what the difference is, but there's a big difference, and we are not a democracy per se, not a pure democracy, but a representative republic. Anyway, I've always loved American history. I've always loved the stories of the founding and the grounding. And are we a Christian nation? Are we this? We're certainly you hear from the document there, the very document. It doesn't say Christian. It acknowledges a God,
a creator.
A creator.
Yeah.
It acknowledges that we have the rights that we have because of a creator, not because of our own selves or our buddies or our king.
That actually stood out to me too while you were reading it. How do people who, just out of curiosity, how do people who don't acknowledge a creator, how do they reckon with that statement?
Old-fashioned stupidness. It's probably what they think. These guys, they were all brainwashed.
What did they know?
In the Church of England, they don't know anything.
Yeah.
I just put a bow on it. I believe there was a divine guiding hand in the founding of this country. That's what I believe. I believe the people that did it, they weren't all Christians. In fact, not every one of them was a deist. But I do believe that God used those men, and they were men at the time, for the founding of this country. And of course, it can all fall apart. We can abandon all those things. We could look at the founding documents and we can say, hey, we don't care about that. We're going to do it a new way.
And that's part of what makes it so precious, right?
It is.
That it's
fragile.
Delicate.
It is fragile. Yeah, it is fragile for sure. Okay, well, let's dive in. That's our little history lesson, everybody. Job numbers in July, man, dang. The job numbers in July, Democrats are they can't buy a break. These job numbers in July were good. They were greater than were expected, and that's bad if you're a Democrat. Very bad. We'll talk about that. They did beat expectations. That really is one of the great measures of the strength of the economy. The big beautiful bill, or as now all the left has decided to call it a mega bill. Okay.
Mega bill?
That's fine. It's a mega bill. It's
okay.
the big bill from the president.
Yeah.
It did pass. 217, 214 or something like that in the House of Representatives. And that was yesterday. It's so crazy to watch either side. I mean, I would watch either side. But when Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, gets up and speaks for more than 8 hours just to filibuster for the sole purpose of just delaying the vote on the bill, and so he could be established as a record holder for the longest speech from the House floor, of course. This is what they do that they think is going to rally support for their side. Meanwhile, in this bill that they all voted against, and they would tell you, well, I voted against it for many reasons and very complicated, but they voted against it. In this bill is no tax on tips.
Oh, right.
Think about this for a second. Democrats, how in the world could Democrats let Republicans be the ones to deliver no tax on tips? You're supposed to be the king of the working man and
Right.
working woman. You're the one that is going to make sure that the little guy, gets everything that they deserve in a good sense. I mean, you're going to take care of the little guy. But then Republicans deliver this? I mean, it is, in my first time usage today, it is astounding to me that could be the case, that they could let Republicans do this. But they do. And it's just a reminder that elections have consequences. You guys, you're up there thumb sucking and crying and whining about what's about to happen. Just delay it. It's like, it reminds me when I was a kid. Now, we got licks when I was a kid. My dad was a school principal, and yeah, he could deliver. Had a wooden paddle, several actually, and I tried them all out, all the paddles.
That's all it was, really. Just wanting to, a sampling of all of that was available.
Yeah, it was like I had a whole flight of paddles. It reminds me of knowing you're going to get licks, and you're delaying and delaying. And wait, Dad, wait, let me explain. Let me say, Dad, hold on a second. It's like, keep talking. I mean, just keep on talking.
Just delaying the inevitable.
It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And Republicans gave him a thump, and it was close. I'll give them that. It was close, but it was going to happen, and they knew it was going to happen, and they did this kind of stuff anyway. But elections have consequences.
They do.
And I would say this, Trump was not shy or vague about what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. He told everybody. He said, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this, and no, boys playing girls sports, and we're going to kick the illegals out of the country, and we're going to, whatever we got to do, we're going to do it. We're going to drill, baby, drill. We're going to pull out of NATO. If they don't pay, if the other countries don't start paying, we're pulling out of NATO. We're going to undo that nuclear thing with Iran. We're going to stop sending pallets full of cash. I mean, billions of dollars of cash, U.S. currency cash to Iran. We're not doing that anymore. So much so was he clear that Democrats were like, this guy is an existential threat. And they had to explain to everybody, existential means your existence. That's sort of, you can do away with your existence. Existential threat. So he talked about the existential threat, and then no one on that side was brave enough to say, we don't think Kamala Harris should be the one. We don't really think so. We're going to rise up and get the right one because it's such an existential threat. We're not going to just crown the new, did it with Biden.
Yeah.
They keep Biden, then he goes out, they kick him out. You talk about democracy.
Who else would it have been, though?
Well,
I mean, we may have. I mean, it might be. How quickly she's forgotten. Maybe we had these conversations way back then, all those months ago. But
it's not even just who else it could have been. That was why they didn't want to do it. There
really was nobody else.
Well, there was nobody else, or it would show that she is really unworthy. But the truth is, what could have happened is she would have gained respect by at least the appearance of some vetting process that could have brought more people onto her side. But the fact that she never talked to anybody but at The View, where they ask her the softball of all softball questions, what would you have done differently over the last 3 years? And she's like, I can't really, nothing really comes to mind. So they put up a sort of a paper candidate, and they lose. And now they let Republicans take the no tax on tips. And the way they fight against it is not with better ideas, it's by delaying. No, we're going to talk more. We're going to talk longer and clap and do rallies. It's just like, okay. I do want to talk a little bit about. We said we wait till July the 20th, right? 6 months after the president was inaugurated. But I do want to just reflect on a couple of things. Now, this could change. Okay, I want to allow this could change. All of this could come crashing down. But if you wonder whether Donald Trump is going to have a good weekend this weekend, can I tell you some of the things that have happened just in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
The job creation numbers up. New trade deal with Vietnam. University of Pennsylvania has banned men from women's sports. And that's part of the whole thing that, the president say, hey, you go down this road, you can lose some funding. UPenn says, nope, no more men in women's sports. The price of gas is at a 4-year low.
Wow.
The price of gas nationally, even in California, is at a 2-year low. Israel and Iran, a 60-day ceasefire. And why is that? Because of the success of the Iran strikes. Remember the whole thing before with NATO? I mentioned it before, where Trump was saying, look, I'm tired of having the U.S. Carry the freight, pay for the freight. We don't want to do that anymore. And he said, I wouldn't even count on pulling out of NATO. After all these years of other countries paying maybe 2% of GDP, that number is now at 5%.
Wow.
2.5 times increase. NATO countries increase spending to fund NATO from 2% to 5%. Rwanda-Congo peace deal. Nationwide injunctions are over. It was part of the result of the Supreme Court decision we talked about the last time we were here. Record stock market. Lowest border encounters in U.S. history in May.
Man.
Alligator Alcatraz. This is in the Everglades in Florida, and it's sort of a detention facility for people who are illegal immigrants that are either going there to go to jail. They actually have an option there. There's a landing strip there. There's a plane waiting to take you out of the country. If you don't want to stay here in the Everglades with alligators and boas, just hop on board. We'll take you. We'll get you out of here. That becomes, I think, of course, Trump is a great marketer, the effective marketer.
Yeah.
People look at that and go, I don't want to go there. There's a thing called self-deportation. There are people that say, you know what, I'm seeing what's going on. Yeah, I've been here for 5 years illegally. Yes, I have a kid here. I'm married here. But honestly, I don't want to split my family up, and we're going to go back to my country, and we're going to develop a life there, and we're going to come back in legally. Now, I'm not saying everybody would do that, but some people would.
Or that it would be easy, easy as maybe it sounds to say it.
No, I'm not saying it's easy. I know it's not easy, but the thing is, do you want to go to Alligator Alcatraz?
It's going to cost $450 million to operate it for a year.
Worth every penny. I'm moving to the Supreme Court real quick, and we're not going to go back over the things from last time, but I do want to tell you that yesterday, the Supreme Court announced that it will consider a bid by West Virginia and Idaho to enforce laws that they have on the books, laws that are being challenged. That's the way it works. If you have a law and somebody says, you can't do that, and you say, yes, I can. It's a law. And say, well, it's going to be a law, but we think it's unconstitutional. And say, well, we'll just see about that. And we go to court and we fight our way up, and it goes to the circuit court, and it goes to the district, whatever. And ultimately, perhaps, it could be heard by the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has decided to take 2 of these cases. And it is about men and women's sports. Can states ban men in women's sports? So the justices took up the state appeals of the lower court decision siding with transgender students who sued. So what that means is the lower courts agreed that boys should play in girls' sports. They agreed that the law was wrong. Set aside the ban. The state has a ban, and the people want the ban done away with, and they sue. And courts say, yeah, do away with the ban. Boys, you can play with girls' sports. Boys, you can play in girls' sports. So ultimately, it keeps going up, and the Supreme Court says, yeah, we're going to decide this. So that's coming up. They're going to hear the arguments in the fall. I don't think it's going to go well for the Boys and Girls Sports Club. I don't think it's going to go well.
No, what makes you say that?
Well, we'll go through it in a second. But the lower court has decided in favor of the, we'll say, transgender student who wants to play. But let's don't be confused. It's a ban on boys playing in girls' sports. A boy wants to, but it's banned. So he or his family have sued. The lower court agrees that he should be able to play in girls' sports. So it's going to the Supreme Court to be decided. The arguments will be, as I said, in the fall, and then the decision will be announced in 2026. 27 states have passed laws restricting participation in sports based on the gender of your birth. In other words, boys can't play in girls' sports. Something I think most people understand could kill women's sports.
Regardless of how you identify now, if you were born, it depends on not that, but
Yeah, that's just the way it is.
yeah.
And it is time for Scattershoot.
Let's go.
Wilder Show Scattershoot for July 4th. July 4th Scattershoot.
Yep.
I was going to ask you something about, have you ever seen a fireworks display that goes awry? Did you see that thing that happened in Sacramento,
Oh,
California?
that was like the factory blew up.
Oh, yeah.
right?
But have you ever seen a display, like you go to a place to see fireworks and then somebody trips and then lights all of them at once or something?
I don't think so. No, nothing
I've seen
like
it
that.
before. It's crazy.
Wow.
When they all go off at once, it's actually really dangerous
I'm sure.
because it's at ground zero. I would imagine it's a problem, and they go. There's a contagion. Toom, 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 and they come back. Toom, 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 toom. But if they're all going off at once, something's going to overheat or something.
It's like the pictures of that explosion at the
unbelievable.
first pictures I saw. Maybe they weren't very good images or something, but then what I saw a little bit later, it was terrifying,
Devastating.
Yeah.
It's like a bomb went off.
Yeah,
They said
like multiple bombs
said
went
seven-
off. It just kept on going and going and going.
said 7 people were missing.
No way.
Oh yeah. I'm sure somebody died for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Man.
Did you ever take fireworks out of the lake and do fireworks into the lake, like fire them into the lake?
I don't have a lot of firsthand firework experience. Or lake, a little lake experience, but not very much firsthand firework experience. I didn't have brothers growing up.
Right.
And then that was just not, we've taken a couple road trips maybe where we'd stop along the way in Arkansas
Gotcha.
and play, places where they had the stands, but all we ever got, the kids would get the sparklers.
Sparklers.
We liked sparklers.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then we've never really lived in a place where I'll tell you one, speaking of lived in a place, I've never lived in a place where it was even legal to set anything like that off in your driveway. You might try it, but if you don't want to get caught doing that.
Sure.
My sister lives in an unincorporated area in Washington State.
Yeah.
I was there on the 4th of July once, maybe 5, 6, 7
And they did do
years
that?
ago. Oh my goodness.
Everybody.
We just walked. We didn't go to a fireworks display. We just walked around their neighborhood
Golly.
for a couple of hours and it never stopped. And they were big fireworks, beautiful fireworks.
Yeah. Wow.
Plus, you're away from the city, so there are very few lights. You really have a
cool.
dark sky and great fireworks, and just coming from every different direction. That was kind of fun. Honestly, I'm really not. Some of that might have even been illegal, but it was really very pretty. So the answer to your question, which I'm sorry, I don't even remember what it was anymore, was
Lakes
I
and
don't
fireworks
I don't,
and-
Lake. No, I haven't done a lot of that.
Yeah.
Have you?
When I was a kid, we had family had a family uncle had a cabin out at actually Lake Tawakoni, and we would go out there and a lot of nonsense and foolishness and
Kept all your fingers?
But I do have a scar right. You can't see from there, right there. There was I had a fireworks incident
Yeah.
on the top of my right hand, and it's a scar that I have to this day. Reminds me of being dumb.
Speaking of my sister, I do remember one of my cousins having like one of those little pop things, just a tiny, like an inch long firecracker, and you light it and drop it and run away. And I think she was a little too close, and she had a little mark on her cheek.
Did she really?
For a while, it didn't last forever, and it's not there now. But it was quite traumatic.
Traumatic, I'm sure.
At the time, yeah. Like I said, we were pretty quiet girls, no brothers. Fireworks were a big deal for us. I'm going to tell you something that is happening in a city that we travel to
Okay.
fairly frequently. Maybe not. We don't spend a lot of time within
see.
the city limits. I've not even noticed this
Okay.
though. Some U.S. cities, including San Francisco,
Yeah.
Salt Lake City,
Okay.
and Birmingham, Alabama,
Yeah.
are restricting something that they say causes 60% of traffic collisions at intersections.
60%.
Yeah. You know what it is?
No.
Left turns.
Really?
Yep. 60% of traffic collisions at intersections involve left turns. So some U.S. cities, including the ones that I mentioned, are limiting or restricting left turns. They cause accidents. Left turns cause accidents. They make traffic worse. Apparently, they use more gas. So, I mean, they're not going to be able to. We've talked about roundabouts before, and how I heard a great radio show once on how roundabouts make traffic flow so much better.
That's what I'm
in
told,
cities.
but I can't imagine it.
Well, there are also some complications, though. For one thing, if you're going to replace four-way stops or places where there are traffic lights, it's a huge expense.
Yeah,
You've got to completely change the flow of traffic. It takes a lot of time. It's going to cause a lot of traffic while you're in the process of doing that.
So roundabouts would be installed where there maybe previously had been nothing, or they're putting brand new roads in anyway. They're not retrofitting an intersection to make it a roundabout. They might create a roundabout as the gotcha.
And the people who think that it's better to just limit left-hand turns, they're not even necessarily in favor of roundabouts at all. They said they can cause traffic jams. People get confused in them. If traffic is backed up, it's still going to be backed up, even if you're in if you've got a roundabout in the middle of it. So they say the answer to this is to just limit left-hand turns. You're going to say, well, how am I going to get where I'm going?
I know the answer.
Go ahead.
3 rights.
3 rights. Yep.
Take a right and a right and a right.
And
but that's got to be more taxing on gasoline than taking a left.
Well, what they say is if you really were able to limit the left-hand turns and all the traffic that is caused by, and the accidents that are caused by people making, think about it, if you're making a left-hand turn, you are, part of the problem is you're watching traffic in both ways.
Sure.
It means there's also a higher rate of pedestrian accidents at left-hand turns because,
Wouldn't guess.
You're watching so much that a pedestrian is very vulnerable and more vulnerable in those situations. So right-hand turn, all you have to do is just sort of blend into the traffic in the direction that it's going. So that what is the answer? That there's nobody turns. I mean, taking 3 rights to make up for one left. I mean, if they got to go to the left, what do they say? You go down, you make a U-turn, come back, take a right turn. You could do that, or make a couple of right turns. You might have to go. They say as many as most of the time. It's maybe 4 extra blocks out of the way. But because you're not making left turns to get there, right turns are way easier to make. They take a lot less time.
Yeah, I don't
You've got
get
the
it,
right turn on red in so many of these, in these instances. So it's kind of interesting. I've never encountered that though. I mean, maybe there's been some point where I've been at an intersection and it said left turn, no left turn.
Yeah.
Would we even notice that?
No.
I mean, if you were at an intersection and that's all there was.
Right.
There was an opportunity. You could. It's not like the street was blocked. There is a street there, but it just says no left turn. You wouldn't even.
I don't get it.
You wouldn't even think about it.
I mean,
I wouldn't.
I understand that if you have a turn lane, right? You have a lane that seems like it. And then what they could say is no left turns unless you have a designated left turn lane.
Well,
I could see that. It gets you out of the traffic, and then you don't have people behind you, except people that also want to turn left.
That's another reason that left turns cause problems with traffic, because when you have that left arrow, you're blocking traffic. You're keeping so many other people in that intersection from doing what they're there to do.
Well, we'll watch this, and we'll see how it goes if they really do away with that.
I will pay more attention to that, too, next time we're in San Francisco.
Tennessee.
I like Tennessee.
Well, I do, too. Tennessee lawmakers have passed a new law aimed at stopping bullying in schools.
That sounds like a good thing.
Let's say it's one of your kids, and you want to make sure they have an adequate understanding that if they bully, they're gonna pay a price. What is the thing that you would say is a good motivating punishment for your 16, 17-year-old to keep them from being in trouble with bullying?
No driving?
State of Tennessee is going to hit teens where it hurts their ability to drive.
Wow.
Starting July 1st, so it just went into effect. Any minor found guilty of bullying or cyberbullying in juvenile court will lose their driving privileges for 1 year.
Wow.
Come on. That's pretty cool, huh? 1 year.
I can already feel the parents going to bat for the kids, saying, well, this punishes me. If they can't drive, how are they going to get from point A to B? I can't cart them all over the place. The whole reason they have a car is because they're helping me, and they're taking the younger kids from here to there. And they're really not a bully.
The bipartisan measure passed with strong support, gaining 85 votes in the House and 26 votes in the Senate. Taking away driving privileges will hopefully get the attention of bullies and deter them from being mean to others, said State Representative Lowell Russell, who sponsored the bill. And it does give them a second chance. If they have their first-time offender, and they can apply for a restricted license that allows them to drive. It's like a parent, the parent state or state parent allows them to drive to essential activities like school, work, or church services.
Okay.
However, the restricted license will not allow them to drive to social events or after-school activities.
Look,
now, I don't know how you police
that's
that.
what I was going to say. I'm for it. I
Who
think
has
it's
the
a
time to
great
police that?
idea, and that is probably the one privilege that teenagers are the most protective of. But
that or their phone. They get their phone, take their phone away.
You take their phone away, though, and parents are going to say that hurts them
issue,
too.
blah, blah,
I can't
blah.
reach them,
Yeah,
and they can't reach me.
Well,
if
then
they're
get
in
your
trouble,
get your kids in line. Then that's the thing. I just think that's a novel approach, and again, it could be it's a deterrent.
Yeah,
if students really understood, I could lose my license, man. I mean, I could lose my license for a year. I can't remember who it was, and I really can't remember who it was. Somebody we know. Some friend, a mutual friend, they had some rules about getting a ticket for their child. No, it wasn't a friend. It was actually a law. It's a law in New Hampshire that if you get a speeding ticket after you're 16 years old and you get your license, if you get a speeding ticket before you're 18, you lose your license until you are 18.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
I think is a deterrent.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be hard. I mean, I understand what you're at. When we talk about the things like kids who are bullying risk losing their driver's license, my mind automatically goes to the way they will work to get around that, or the way they might think, I'm not going to get caught. I'm not going to get caught doing that. And then if I do get caught doing that, I'll be able to get around it. How are they going to know where I'm going? Maybe thinking they're a little bulletproof.
But that would be if they applied for their reinstatement. The thing I went to immediately was, to borrow a phrase, it depends on the meaning of the word bullying.
Well,
am I bullying if I post on my social media what is my religious conviction regarding a certain topic?
Yeah, that's a whole new can of worms.
You see what I'm saying? Then it becomes a religious infringement sort of thing, and blah blah blah. Anyway, but if you can get kids to stop bullying, that's good.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a novel way. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. Whether it will be effective or not. I know we'll be hearing about this because it just went into effect July 1st. So it just went into effect this week.
I will be curious to follow up on that and see how it turns out. There is new research out of the University of Texas at Austin that suggests there is one tiny thing you could do to strengthen your relationships. It's a really little thing, doesn't take much effort at all.
Thing I know.
Okay.
For me to stop whistling.
That might be it in your case, but that's not what I'm talking about here. Actually, I can think of maybe a few other things we could.
That apply to me?
Maybe, maybe. But you probably have a list for me, too.
We'll get to you on the extended podcast.
The show after the show.
Right.
It's adding emojis to your text messages. Oh, wait.
Okay.
I text with you from time to time.
Yeah.
You are not an emoji fan.
It's not that I think it's dumb or anything. I mean, sometimes I will do it. I'll tell you the emojis I've used.
Yeah.
I use the heart emoji.
Yeah.
With my family.
That's nice.
I will use the, obviously, thumbs up. usually to end a conversation, to end a text conversation.
Yeah.
Sometimes emojis, that's kind of how I use emojis. Emojis are like going back and forth.
Yeah.
And somebody tells you one more thing rather than me telling them one more thing. And then they tell me one more thing about that thing. I just go, gotcha. I give them a little thumbs up.
Yeah.
So there's that. I use the thumbs up. I use the heart. I've used the prayer hands before, but for serious things. I've used
do you feel like the prayer hands?
I've used the I've used the hand on the
face palm thing.
The face palm.
Yeah, I've used that before
I've done that
too.
oh my goodness.
Do you ever, this is totally separate. You ever feel like the prayer hands thing maybe trivializes the actual prayers?
Maybe
a little bit?
But how would you, if you wanted to say I'm praying for you, or I'm thinking of you, and you wanted to, and you were incapable of remembering how to spell any of those words?
Well,
and so you
you've
wanted
got me
to
there. Yeah,
you would have to have something. Heartfelt or whatever. Oh, I've also done the thing about care. The care where the little circle head is hugging a heart.
Smiley?
Yeah, it's hugging a heart.
I didn't even know that's what that one meant.
I got a thing just the other day. Somebody was talking about a pretty serious surgical thing.
Yeah.
And so rather than going the whole thing, I don't like to post things for other people to read what I think. If I want to tell them, I'll tell them directly. But then you want to bother them; they're in the hospital.
Yeah.
So you just put hey, I'm caring for you, that kind of thing.
So you just send the emoji.
Oh yeah, I don't do. Yeah, for those things I do. I don't like to. I don't like generally to write things for other people to read that I'm writing to somebody. It becomes sort of a deal where we're all just showing everybody else how good we are about writing things to these people that maybe or maybe not we would ever write this directly to them.
When it's kind of on display.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, and that's not even really what this is about necessarily. And you were talking about sending emojis separately, like without any words, and that's fine. I mean, that kind of means you know where they are, you know how to use them. They are describing them here as like a digital tone of voice. And I'm all for that.
Yeah, because I can understand that. One of the things I hate about text, or really email too. I mean, in business, I've said, let's get them on the phone.
Yeah,
let's just get them on the phone. Because there is something powerful. Number one, I like to be efficient, and if we can handle something, if there's going to be a five rounds back and forth, I don't want that to take 7 days.
Right.
Where I sent it, they didn't see it, and then the day, and the next day, and that holiday, it's like, dude, let's just figure it out. Like old-fashioned way. Just talk to each other.
If you are in a position to have a text-only conversation with somebody and the phone is not an option, your emojis can help kind of bridge the emotional gap that can sometimes be created by text-only communication. Haven't you told your kids that before?
Yeah.
I remember telling all of my kids when they got, especially my daughter, because girls, it's different with girls. I never worried about the way boys were reading each other's texts.
How they would take each other's
girls,
testimony.
just remember there's no tone of voice with that. And that, like I said, it's kind of a digital tone of voice. And people who use emojis in text messages are seen as significantly more responsive and caring by their friends. Doesn't even matter what kind. It can be the smileys,
the funny ones, or
it
whatever.
It can be symbols, just something, just
a lot
that
of crinkly
little
eyes
extra,
and crying, smiling, laughing with tears.
Yeah, that's a good one.
People use like that.
I like the kiss blowing emoji.
Oh,
that's
really?
probably my favorite emoji. And this would be for the show after the show too. But I sent you an emoji yesterday in response to something, and I think you would agree that it was the perfect perfect expression of what we were talking about. So
that's one I left out. That's one I use with my brothers sometimes. If something's going on that we have a particular opinion about, I might just send that.
Sometimes one emoji is worth 1,000 words.
That's right. Well, let me ask you this, because you seem like a smart person for texting and such.
I know about emojis. I don't know how smart that makes me.
Do you think I should stop texting in all caps? Is that a...
Why are you yelling at me?
That is a Wilder Show podcast. Yes, we're on Instagram. You will search Wilder Show Pod. And then you'll find us and you'll follow us and you'll tell your friends. Well, thank you for that. If you want to send us an email, just email to podcast@wildershow.com. Podcast@wildershow.com. Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time or before on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. Yes, we will continue to pay attention to YouTube. I don't know why they keep moving me from public to private.
I don't know.
I'm a colonel. So thanks, Lauren.
My pleasure.
And we will see you next time.
Do